shit's weird.
The following podcast is brought to you by Inebriated Records.
You know it's a tough job, but somebody's gotta do it. You talk about beating people up. Well, it's a Powder Out podcast, and I hope it's okay, because there's nothing you can do about it, brother.
That's right. Powder. The fame, money, now our own podcast.
It's P-O-P. We are powdered up, we are out of our minds, and we are taking over wrestling podcasts. We're going to fight, scratch, claw, and maybe even bite you for every view you got.
It's the new way. Is that okay, billionaire boss Brandon?
I think the whole world wants to know one thing about pop. When is it? What time?
You guys know something? I almost forgot something really important. Powder Out Podcast is live right now. I forgot. It slipped my mind.
So what is up, everyone? This is Powdered Out Podcast. So last week we had an interview from Sabrina Kyle, and it was the first interview I have done in about 7 to 8 years. Go check last week out. We also talked about the Chris Benoit Jr. debut, hopefully, and Josh, what was that?
Didn't he actually just win a title this week? I saw something pop up where he actually I saw Chris Benoit actually won something.
Yeah, damn straight. It's about fucking time.
Because it was like it was like an article in sports, that Sportscapedia or something.
I'm like a little kid on Christmas Day right now. I just want to go outside and scream.
Okay. So I really don't know about Chris Benoit Jr. So was that Chris Benoit's actual kid, or I thought he did he not finish the full job?
No.
I think it was from
He
a
did
previous
miss
marriage.
a couple.
No, I do believe it was with Nancy, but let me type it in on Google.
Or he was with somebody, I thought. Or he was with his aunt or somebody. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I want to say it was previous marriage, but I could be wrong.
It had to have been. I just don't think he's there. But either or, it's cool of it. So many people love I liked Chris Benoit of it. I mean, he was kind of cool. So kind of even leading into that, some liked him, some don't. But okay, so everybody always talks about the Mount Rushmore and the idea of the three founders of wrestling, the Hogan, the Rock, the Stone Cold, those of but mine that I always like to want to ask is what's your Mount Rushmore? What I mean is what got you into wrestling ones? Mine that really dragged me in was first is just at the time that I was Cena, then Stone Cold for sure. I thought he was cool with it, but then actually Boogeyman was mine. I know we were talking earlier about something that might be coming out in the future, and it's just but that's what pulled me in because it made me more of a story that him and actually because I remember almost at the same time him and Umagi. Was that his name? Umaga. Yeah. They were cool. Umaga versus Bobby Lashley were some matches that I really do remember. I remember that match.
And the aggression era.
Umaga almost put Steve-O in the hospital for 2 months.
Steve-O? Like Jackass Steve-O?
Yeah.
Yeah,
On
if you
Monday
watch,
Night
there's
Raw.
a video out there of him getting I don't remember what it's called, but like he took and put him on his back, and he goes down really quick, and all you see him go. He comes up and goes like that, and then just blacks out. He even talks about it on his Steve-O even talks about it on his podcast too.
Well,
Like he legit got hurt.
You know what happened with that, right?
No, like it was probably just
Umaga body slammed him, and he wasn't selling it. Steve-O got right back up and was like, "Come on!" and like starting to like throw a couple punches and jabs, and Umaga just busted him, just like power slammed him to the ground and beat the fuck out of him.
Oh, I mean, sometimes I could see, like, I really have always wondered this is we know, like, honestly, we all know that they know how to take it. And, like, do you think there is times that then wrestlers turn and be like, well, I'm going to actually hurt you, bitch?
Oh,
like,
100%.
I'm going to turn it
100%.
out. Y'all like, yep.
It's called receipts.
Well, that and stiff. When people are stiff, like people go back and forth. Like there's been like if you watch LOD fights, stuff like that. Oh yeah, they're beating the shit out of each other, and then they go in the back, and then they're just fine afterwards. But yeah, like if someone starts punching them hard, they'll go back, start punching them hard, kicking them hard. Yeah,
receipts are big in like AEW. Receipts are a big thing.
Oh, well, that's just interesting. I mean, like, it's just as much as I've heard a lot of people be like, hey, that's just silly. That's just like a stupid show of it. Is I honestly think some of it's like an art because you can still see, like, they know how to sell it when they are like doing this. Let's say like the receipt or something of that nature. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, like
when,
I want to say the recent one was like back on one of the Raws where, what's her name, Nia Jax and Charlotte. They actually were throwing punches at each other for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, like, see, and it like,
but ooh, I like that pop-up question. What would be your very own special move, and what would it be called?
Make it up.
I like this.
But real quick, going back to the Mount Rushmore real quick, it's usually like what, 4? Mine are like the ones from the different eras, like the different decades. So like first for me it's Ric Flair, and then it's Hogan. Another one for me is HBK, and then I feel like John Cena as well. I mean, you don't really have the aggression era without like Cena and Batista going in after the Attitude Era.
I loved Batista, yeah. Those two had a really good feud. I mean,
They did.
Actually, now they bring it up, I'm like, that's one of those that when I was really like involved in like high school around that time, that was like that 2007 to 10 was when I know I was like really big into it. And I remember going to some of my let's say on the wrong side of the track friends, and we would like use the whole black box and steal the pay-per-views. And
yeah,
my Mount Rushmore, I think, would be
the ones that got you into it.
Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Sabu, Sandman.
I don't remember Sandman. It sounds
Rob
really
Van
like.
Dam.
Well, see, okay, 3 out of the 4 there are ones just from smaller promotions, and then they came to WWE, but they're all from a lot of them came from ECW. Well, no, 2 of them did. Eddie Guerrero traveled around. Chris Benoit traveled around too, But Sandman and Sabu, well, no, Sabu traveled around, and I think Sandman was like from Philly and from that promotion. ECW was back in the 90s.
This is what I'm going to argue with you. So the Mount Rushmore thing, I don't even know what Mount Rushmore is, to be honest with you. It's some mountain that has 4 big heads on it. To me, what Mount Rushmore of wrestling is, who got you into it and why you love it. Mm-hmm. Those 4 individuals are the reason why I got into professional wrestling as a fan.
But for me, I couldn't put. Yes, back in the day before it all happened, Chris Benoit was a good wrestler. But I feel like all the credibility goes away after the whole incident. The whole murder. I mean, I feel like once you do that, all that credibility is gone. That's why you'll never see him in the Hall of Fame. And
no, I think he will be.
No,
I want him in the Hall of Fame.
When AEW starts their Hall of Fame, they're going to bring in Chris Benoit Jr. And 3 years after he gets inducted, he's going to be inducted by his dad. Like, he's going to induct his dad into the AEW Hall of Fame as the first legend.
But then you're saying murder's okay.
Not really. You're saying
but you are.
Can't. No, you are really saying that you can take somebody's art in that industry and take an incident that happened away. Like, you can take me, for instance.
Is OJ in the Hall of Fame? Is OJ in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
No, okay. I don't think so. I mean, he murdered both of those people. We know that.
Oh, yeah, no, he didn't. Shut the fuck up. This isn't that kind of podcast, okay? We can't talk about the O.J. Simpson trial.
But it's the same thing. It's like comparing, but he loses all credibility because of the murder. No. That's how I see it. That's my opinion.
Hey, guys, how about this? Pete Rose got caught gambling, betting on baseball, and he's to this day is still not allowed to ever be in the Hall of Fame, and that's gambling. So I don't know about murder. I'm gonna go back to eating these oranges.
I mean, with Pete Rose, that's his name is Pete. He has some name after him because he did the Pete Rose, and he gambled, and he's banned. I just don't think with murder, I just can't look at him the same.
I mean, I get it. I understand where JP's coming from. Some can't, and that's there. I try to see but I will say, when I've seen some of like the old matches when he'll do like the top 10s, and there's like top 10 moments with him still. Like, I know, like, a big one is always that WrestleMania when he runs out there with Eddie. Like, can you all remember what WrestleMania that was? See if
20.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember. But yeah, now you can't see it. Like, I can't see past
I just
it.
can't.
Like,
I can't. Like, when I watch,
he's good, but
I've seen a couple of his promos and they're creepy. I just can't watch them.
See, this is when you guys might get offended, and I'm sorry to say this. It's because you guys are Americans. If you are born-bred Canadian, you have Benoit in your blood. Like, you have the Hart dynasty in you have the Dungeon.
The Hart dynasty is different than Chris Benoit.
No, it's not. They trained him.
But they didn't murder
the Dungeon.
Okay, but they didn't murder anybody.
No, but if you look back in Canadian wrestling history, JP, he was under the Dungeon. They taught him. They made him to be a pro wrestler. So he kind of is under their.
I get that, but I just can't.
Are you trying to tell us then now we have to hate them because of that they trained the murderer. I mean, I get what you're saying there, but
No,
I mean, I think that's like apple and oranges there. I mean, but okay, so we can move forward then. We'll agree to disagree. But yeah, what do you guys think about your special move? What would it be called?
You go first.
Hmm.
Wait, can we imply weapons or no?
Hey, I mean, no. I feel like the special move is like the one that you can pop out at any time, and the announcer is like the whole, look at that. That was the kaboom.
Okay.
That was mine would be the Master Splash. For the MS there, it's just the Master Splash. And that's when I would run up, or when I would just jump up to the top rope here, full arms out here, and then just jump and like body slam them, like belly flop, like in like the pool, like just shamu them.
Mine would be.
Go ahead.
Mine would be. I don't know if you guys know the Canadian Destroyer.
Yeah.
But imagine an inverted 180 Canadian Destroyer from the third rope. When you're flipping him upside down, you do a 180 spin. And then land.
I feel like physically, I don't think that'd be possible.
That's my thought. Is I'm over here like, that's a lot of twisting.
Mine would kind of be a version of like the sit-down pile driver, but instead of like maybe lock my hands and like when I do it, maybe turn it into like a submission at the same time. So you kind of like you do like the sit-down pile driver, and then you put like a certain kind of lock on the ankle, and we call the JP or something.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off there, JP. I'm very sorry to cut you off there. Not a rude cut off, but a cut off for an announcement. So, guys, we're having a very special guest come on in about a couple minutes. His name is Bill Chase. He owns Ontario Pro Wrestling. And he's a very good friend. I don't want to tell his story. He has an amazing wrestling story. He's going to come on and we're going to chat with him.
We'll learn all about it.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
So
I love learning about other people's journeys.
I'm a statistics guy. I love statistics about like pro wrestling, records, everything else. This week, between the 18 to 49 demographic, AEW beat Raw. I don't know if it was like one of the hours or what, but it seemed like it was like you don't quote me on this. You can look it up too, but I think it was like Raw had 678,000 on one of the hours, and AEW had like 680,000. So they beat them in that demographic. Not the whole show, but they beat them in that demographic. So they're slowly coming around. I think this last AEW Dynamite was their second highest show, but AEW All Out was like their biggest sold out pay-per-view. I heard it was like amazing, and I don't know if you guys follow, what is it, Dave Meltzer?
Fuck that guy. He's an asshole. He knows nothing about pro wrestling. He's a fucking idiot.
Okay, let me finish. He gave the Young Bucks against the Lucha. What was their name?
The Lucha not Dragon.
Lucha Bros.
Yeah.
He gave them like a 5.75 out of 5 stars. I don't know if that's a little out there, but I did hear it was a really good cage match.
What do you say then to Michael? Why are you? Do you think that's stupid then?
Okay. Do you guys want to do an ad read? I'm going for some POP merch. I'm going to make a coffee and then we'll bring Dylan.
You just completely like.
I know. He just like tried to throw the bus on a road, and we're like, I thought
I
we
wasn't
were on
paying
the
attention.
boat.
I was kind of, yeah, I was out of it. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
We were talking about Dave Mel.
Bring
Okay.
him in.
He is getting coffee. Yeah, we are going to be having on, is it inebriatedrecords.com, right?
Yeah, no, on inebriatedinstigators.com, you can actually now go get pop merch. So come on, go get that old school. Like, I really did always like the I still way over any of the new school stuff. I love the old t-shirts. Like, I'll wear an NWO like t-shirt over any Roman Reigns or
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, and that's like with Hogan. If you didn't have Hogan, you wouldn't have, going over to WCW, creating NWO. You wouldn't have DX. You wouldn't have the Attitude Era. That's why I think he's one of the Mount Rushmores. But yeah, we had like our wrestling team. We were BWO, Bulldogs Wrestling Order. Like everybody had some kind of world order back in the 90s.
Oh, right. It was all about that. And everybody loved seeing Hogan back. Like, what was the pop that you think real fast? I can't.
I'm going to cut you guys off for a second.
Okay,
we're going to bring our guest Bill Chase on and we'll continue the Mount Rushmore conversation.
Hey, gentlemen.
What the fuck is up, Bill?
Doing really good. Had a show today. It was a lot of fun. I'm actually enjoying your guys' conversation right now. Good topic of the Mount Rushmore. I'm kind of in agreement with Hogan there, so continue.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, for me, like, I was a big Ric Flair fan and Hogan fan. But if it wasn't for Hogan going to WCW, you wouldn't have had any of that Attitude Era. You wouldn't have had any of those factions. The big factions, I feel like.
No, it's true. Like, even DX was obviously a direct influence from the NWO because, again, Nash and Hall, their close association with Shawn and Hunter. And it made the WWF step up their game. I believe it was in a meeting in early '97. Mick Foley tells a story where they're all in the locker room. They're getting killed in the ratings war. And Vince just finally admits, I'm out of touch with what's big today. I'm out of touch with pop culture. I need you guys as talents to tap in to something more. And lo and behold, the Attitude Era was born pretty much soon after.
I can't wait for that to happen again because, I mean, just watching AEW just gave me, like, I know it's indie stars, don't get me wrong, but, and I'm not a big, like, CM Punk fan, but honestly, like, I don't know what was bigger, the music or when he stepped on. That pop was so deafening that I'm pretty sure you could probably feel it off your chest and everything. Like, we see it on TV, but I'm pretty sure being there was probably like 10 times better. That's probably one of the greatest pops I've ever seen.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing I can really compare it to is two things. When Ric Flair made his return to Nitro in September of '98 and Bret Hart in Calgary at the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view.
Maybe when Jeff and Matt Hardy came back at WrestleMania.
That's a close one. I'd say that's probably top 10 at least.
That made my 8-year-old of myself, my 8-year-old inner self jump back out when the Hardy Boys came back. That was, yeah.
Oh, I was so mad, I will say, when that one happened, is because I still remember this. As I was in there with my ex-wife, we were putting a puzzle together, and she then had to take a call from her mother, and I literally looked over, and I just heard a the huge like crack there. I'm like, what's going on? And then she goes, I gotta mute the TV. I go back and I see that, and I'm like, mother, I just completely missed, like, I mean, obviously I went back and watched it, but it's just like when you miss those moments.
I screamed and yelled like a little kid. It was the greatest feeling in the world.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
thank you to TiVo now, because that's the other thing is I still remember. I don't know about you all. I know this is probably a random one. Is like when you could never watch the pay-per-view, so you just had to like do like their clips and then like imagine what the pay-per-view was like.
Yeah.
You took
I'm from
5 seconds.
I'm from a time where, like, when we didn't, like, you know, my parents ordered a lot of pay-per-views for me growing up. I'm at a time where I would listen to them while the scrambled signal was coming in. Like, I would just listen to what's going on sometimes. So I just didn't want to miss it.
There's a guy, you'll have to look it on YouTube. He does like a what is it called? It's one of those poetries where the talk poetry, and he talks about that with his dad, because he starts with how someone tells it this is fake wrestling, and then he goes into that talking about how him and his dad would, go back and forth on WCW, but they were too poor for the pay-per-view, so you just heard what was going on and watched the scrambles. Yeah, it's really neat. I don't remember what it's called, but I remember those days too.
It's funny of like, here's the thing. I mean, you might hear some, like, I feel like football fans or things that might say that, but I've heard tons of wrestling fans have stories just like that, where like you all are trying anything to get it. And I mean, like, I remember because my parents didn't like it initially, like in like the like 96, like the late 90s, I was trying to get in, and I had to like sneak it and like watch it at a friend's house and like go out of my way to get it. When do you see any other sports person who you think will really go out of their way?
And I think that's what, maybe you could agree with this too, Bill. That's one of the unique things about wrestling, and you probably agree too, Josh, is no matter who you are, you could be a CEO and someone could be like a death metal lead singer. And the only connection that they have together is wrestling. They'd be two of the best friends, and you would never know because they're wrestling fans.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm definitely in agreement because I've created bonds with people who I have almost literally zero in common with. And yet the wrestling fandom is the one thing, and it's actually helped me build friendships that lasted years.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's one of my favorite things is like, I have some friends that are like completely opposite, and all we love is wrestling. And like, if we didn't have that, we probably wouldn't have been friends. Like, that's what's awesome.
It's great sometimes of those, like, just really those, like, it is like a connection of it, because randomly me and my ex-wife, it was like 4 years into our relationship. I think we just got married, and on like the bar or something was a pay-per-view, and we both were just like, "This is cool, right? You used to watch this, right?" And then we just got like a brand new bond, and then we honestly started to go to live events. We went to even not just like the Raw, like when they came, and just the straight live shows of it. So it's just like, and that made a huge another connection. So it's kind of cool of what wrestling does. But that kind of leads into then questions to you, Bill, of it is like, because of what wrestling is so deep, like honestly kind of start us to because your journey, because I know Michael told us things that now you own Pro Wrestling Ontario, so obviously there was a journey and a passion for what you did. So
take us there.
Yeah,
absolutely, no problem. For starters, I've been a wrestling fan since I was about 4 years old, so that was back in 1987. I'm 38 now. I've always had a special
I am
connection with it.
I'm so sorry for that, guys. I have shitty internet connection in a thunderstorm.
Same here, yes. It's pretty bad on my end too. That's why I had to reset my modem. But so sorry, as I was saying, as time went on, my passion and dedication for wrestling grew and grew and grew. And then I went to an independent wrestling show in 2011, local promotion here in Hamilton called Alpha One Wrestling, which Michael's very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The main event was the Night Train Justin Sane against the late great Brody Lee.
Oh.
And they just had an electric match. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I not doing this? Why am I not involved in this? I mean, I have enough passion for wrestling where I can do something like this. So a buddy of mine, he actually got my foot in the door. Buddy by the name of Justin Coleman. I set up chairs at Alpha One shows going forward. And as time evolved, I got involved in like different projects, was assisting any way I can in different shows any way I could, ring announcing. That's how it all started for me. And then Alpha One was supposed to shut down. They didn't end up doing so, but a couple of buddies of mine, including Justin, who I just mentioned, and a couple others, we wanted to start a company called Fringe Pro Wrestling. Now, sadly, Fringe had its success, but sadly, we were working with people who didn't really grasp certain aspects of wrestling, and it kind of blew up in our face. So I said, I'm giving you the Coles Notes version here. So basically, there's another business partner of mine at Fringe Pro Wrestling, but brother by the name of Andy Martin, great guy. And we decided after Fringe shut down, because our business partner kind of flaked out on us, and we just said, do you still work together? And he said yes, because he is also a wrestler in this area. And we decided to start Pro Wrestling Ontario with a good friend of his. So the three of us, myself, Andy Martin, and a fellow by the name of Travis Howie, we own the company together. We all have different duties. Travis is about production. Andy's about the booking, the stories, putting the matches together. Me, I'm about the promotion, like the actual promoting.
Nice.
So, and now I'm going to give a quick plug on here. We do have a show on Sunday, next week from today, September 19th in Burlington. It's called Apologies Are for the Week. The main event is White Trash Matt Cash challenging our champion, the openweight champion, the Canadian bad boy, Tyler Hill. It's going to be a pretty violent matchup. These two have a hardcore background, so it's going to be intense, but it's for the openweight title. So I just thought I'd give a quick plug out there. Tickets, $20, general admission.
Can you find it like online at all?
Yeah.
Like,
yes, we're on. We have pages Pro Wrestling Ontario on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So you can find us pretty easily on there as well. Just search for Pro Wrestling Ontario. You'll find us easily. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. Go finish. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we just started. This will be our first live show in front of fans since February of 2020. So we did it. We did a couple of YouTube tapings with no fans at a local wrestling school. So yeah. Also, for tickets for anybody listening or watching, I should say, or whatever. If you want to reserve yours via e-transfer, it's pwotickets@gmail.com, all lowercase. So again, they're all general admission, $20. We still got some available. We just opened up a little bit more seating. We found out we can have a few more people there, so more tickets have become available. Cool. So back to just conclude my story here. Pro Wrestling Ontario has been a bigger success than we had imagined. We've really gained a following in the Burlington area. It's more of a casual wrestling fan base. It's not like the ones who are, looking behind the scenes of the dirt sheets, or know kind of the insides, or smart of the business, like a lot of us are here. A lot of us know we research that sort of stuff. But it's mostly a casual fan base, but they are very dedicated nonetheless.
Now,
so take us back to when you first started with the chairs. What is that kind of like? Like, how do you get into that, and what do you do, like setting up chairs and everything? Is there like specific way, or?
Oh, absolutely. The promoter will tell you the way he wants it done. In this case, the promoter of Alpha One Wrestling is now AEW star Ethan Page.
Yeah,
I can say that now because he revealed it on a show, so I can actually reveal that now. But I would keep kayfabe normally on that case, but he did reveal it on a live show that he is the owner. But yes, he would instruct us how he wants it done, and it was really simple. It's not rocket science. Setting up chairs and whatnot. It's just he'd say, okay, I want 10 here, maybe just separate the row back there. Like, he'll give us specifics. And like he's one of the smartest promoters I've ever met, because not only is he brilliant the way he books a wrestling show, but even just the little things, again, like the chair setup, like the way he sets up merchandising on that, because he's a merchandise king. Just the way he sets everything up on his show to make it flow flawlessly as possible. He is brilliant at that.
Now, you know what I found amazing about fucking Ethan Page, best in Ontario, was that he always had the Alpha One video quality to the point.
Yes.
To the point, Bill.
He's a stickler for production. He really is. Like I said, everything. He wants everything about his product to be perfect, and that's why it ended up being so, more or less.
It's pretty much the best promotion in Canada. Like, I hate to say that, but...
Well, no, I'm hard-pressed to argue, because their success speaks for itself. They pack every show. They've always had a great house. They've only had the odd lackluster attendance, but it never lasted. It was like one show, boom, he would find a way. For him, one bad house was one bad house too many. He would be determined not to have that happen for a second straight time, and he never did. He never did.
So now, after go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I'm going to ask you a question, Bill.
Sure.
Now, the Tournament of Death. Can I ask questions about that or no?
I don't see why not. If I know the answer, I'll give it to you.
What was it like being put through that table and walking into the rock pile, knowing that you had one person chanting for you, and knowing that you were the hated man in that venue?
Honestly, I felt
it was an honor to watch that match. That was
one of the most funnest times I've had in my life, not just in wrestling. For you guys who may not know, I was a part of a promotion called Death Proof, very popular in Ontario, very dedicated fan following. Hardcore like ECW, CZW type thing, but with very story oriented too, though. So I was the authority figure, the head of the athletic commission in Ontario, and I was trying to shut them down. And I always hated so much about that, because that fan base is very much like that ECW fan base, the rabid, or what you see in even GCW nowadays, that, they just want to kill you. And if they get the chance, they just might do that. And there's no barricades. There's nothing holding these people back, no security. So I'm making my entrance during my match with the head of the company, Warhead. And I'm feeling, am I even going to make it to the ring without getting jumped? Thankfully I did. But it was scary, but at the same time, one of the most thrilling things I've ever been through. It was just an absolute roller coaster ride that I wouldn't trade for anything.
That whole tournament was amazing. That experience that day, Death Proof gives one hell of a fucking experience.
They do. They really do. It's a great interactive experience.
What do you mean, like, interactive? Like...
They feel like they're part. It's like, that's the thing about independent wrestling. Fans feel more a part of the show than anything. A direct part of it. It's like every wrestler can almost hear every fan in that building. You don't get that in the WWE or AEW. Nothing against them, obviously, but I think that fans enjoy that more interactive feel. That, hey, I'm chanting, F you to this wrestler. He's going to hear me, and he's going to react, and they know that.
And
they love it. Yeah, they love it.
They can do more heckling things.
Here's a little pop-up question. Fuck, marry, kill. Balls Mahoney, both of the Bushwhackers, and the Sandman.
Oh, God. Can I just kill them all? No disrespect to Bushwhacker Luke and the memory of Balls Mahoney. Bushwhacker Luke I've met many times. Great guy. Balls Mahoney, rest in peace. Hardcore legend. Sandman has always been hit or miss for me, but you guys, if you guys want to field that question first, go ahead, because I got to think about it.
I don't know who Sandman is, so I'm killing Sandman. I'm fucking Balls Mahoney, and I think I'm gonna marry both the Bushwhackers. I think I could. I like to split the bush down the middle.
So I'm going to fuck both of the Bushwhackers in the bum. I'm going to kill Balls Mahoney. and I'm going to marry the Sandman so I can just drink beer with him for 30 years.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Let's see here. I would, just because I've heard all the stories about Balls Bunny, I would kill him because he sounds like just a dirty motherfucker. I probably would get fucked by Sandman because I'd probably try to fuck him, he'd probably fuck me back, and then kill me, and then marry the Bushwhackers because I think they're just those little sweet little darling guys. You know what I mean? Like, how could you not? You know what I mean? They're like blah, and then like they would. Yeah, I
think they'd keep me entertained.
Exactly.
Right, like they're that cute little ones.
You know what? Yeah, I would. You know what? I'd actually marry the Bushwhackers because you know what? They just seem to be like fun to hang around. They all would. But I would say, and again, this is gonna sound bad. I say kill Balls Mahoney because he's already dead.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you're right.
It's not like it's gonna hurt him. It's not like it's gonna hurt him. Sandman, yeah, I'd probably. You know, at least he'd give me a beer after. So after,
there you go.
You know, probably more than one. He'd get me nice and drunk first, knowing him actually. So he probably
I fucked for less. Haven't we all fucked for less?
So after like the chairs, did you do like set up ring and everything?
Yes, I did. I was part of a ring crew for a couple of different promotions. It's harder for me now because I do have. It's not severe, but it's minor nerve damage in my left arm. But it's not, to the point where it's going to kill me or paralyze or anything like that. It's just certain things I can't lift past a certain weight. I'll help with like the ropes and the turnbuckles or whatever I'm needed, the ring skirts. But at the same time, though, the heavy lifting I lead to usually the wrestlers or the rookies who are training in that. So, because they can handle it better. In
your opinion, what's like the worst kind of ring setup that you've seen? Because like I was with I've seen some, and you know a lot of them are duct taped together. They've seen better days.
Yes, I've seen some bad rings, specifically actually for one of my shows, a Fringe Pro Wrestling show back in 2014, I want to say, or it might have been late 2013, but either way, the ring was a death trap. The posts were all uneven, the ropes were sagging. Every time we tried to tighten them, it would just still get worse after the next match. And it was coming to the point where the workers, I don't blame them because they got to worry about their safety too. They were scared to be in the ring. It's like we were anxious for the show to end just so nobody would have to wrestle in there anymore. It was that bad.
I never knew that.
Yeah. It only happened once. It was only one time, thank God. But we actually, the odd thing is, though, guys, we actually ended up buying that ring and fixing it up. It was still not perfect, but it was much, much better than it was when we first had it on our show. We fixed it up. We did a million different things to it, put a lot of money into it. And again, it still was far from perfect, but at least the wrestlers were not scared to wrestle in it.
Now, can I ask you a couple of kayfabe questions?
Sure.
Sorry, real fast. Something I've always wondered. How long, I feel like putting together a ring, it's like NASCAR. Like you have a pit crew people who can do it in 10 seconds flat and that, but what's the fastest you've ever had to put a ring together? Be like, oh shit, we're running late on this. How fast did you have to throw a show together?
I'll answer that quickly. There was a show I was doing, I think it was about 5-6 years ago, and the ring was late due to traffic. And the show was only an hour away from starting and a half hour from doors open.
Oh, shit.
The ring got there at 10 after, 20 minutes till doors open. And literally, and I'll give the workers credit for this, every single worker in that locker room, veteran or rookie, went out there and helped get it together. They really put all the teamwork together. Because normally some people, and I'm not saying they're being lazy on them, but some people aren't part of the ring crew. That is more so. I mean, nobody stops paying dues in wrestling. I'm saying nobody stops paying their dues, but usually the ring crew is for the rookies. That's just how it's always been. But the whole locker room came out and started just putting the ring together as quick as they could. We only started the show maybe 10 minutes late. So not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Very impressive.
Yes. it was fine. Like the ring was perfectly fine, in good shape. And I'll say this too about people helping out with the ring and that. Like to me, what I want to get off my chest quickly is that some people think they're not naming any names. There's a lot of people who are like this. They just think they're too good to help out with anything. Not even just talk about the ring. But I'll give you an example. Gangrel, who has been on WWF television, who is part of the Brood, group that people still talk about, even Edge paying homage to it recently at SummerSlam. He was helping out with ring crew at certain shows here in Canada in the past. And here's a guy who's been in the business for almost 30 years.
Right.
The Rock and Roll Express, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, were helping set up a show in the States 2 years ago, from what I heard. So there you go.
Wouldn't like Jimmy Hart still? I think Jimmy Hart does too.
Yes, he does. He does. He helps out whatever he can on a show he's on, anytime. Yep. He'll say to the promoter, "What do you want me to do, baby? Come on, I'll help you set out."
Isn't that what it's about? Isn't
Exactly.
it all like you're a family with it? Like, I hate when people in general become those type of stars that are like, I'm just better for all of this than anything. It's like you're never better for something if you don't put that's putting in the passion behind it. It's like, I don't know the analogy quick on my head, but it's just putting in a lot of effort of it. So
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but Michael, do you have any more questions of it?
When we have a guest, we have a segment called Michael's Corner sometimes. Okay. And I'm going to ask you some questions. Hopefully you'll answer them. And if you don't, I respect the kayfabe.
I don't I'll even if it's kayfabe or whatever, I'll still find a way to answer it somehow. So don't worry about that.
So first question. For the belts, do the champions get to bring them home? Or are you like, yo, you just bled and sweat and tears for this? I'm taking it after you win it? Or do they get to take it home?
Actually, we do not have, and this is not anything that's too secretive in wrestling, we usually leave it up to them. The people that win our titles in PWO, we trust them like we do. We trust them with the titles. We trust them not to put it on them. So we actually leave it up to them. Some actually choose to leave it with us. Some are just not comfortable taking them home because they feel they might lose them or they might mistreat them. But really, we have left it up to them for the most part. But either way, it hasn't ended up badly for us. Our belts are still in really good shape. They're going to need some touch-ups pretty soon, but still, they've been well taken care of by the people who take them home. So, we usually leave it up to them.
Now, this one is a tough one for me to ask. When a wrestler gets told that you have to lay down and lose your title tonight, what do you think goes in their brain? Or, how does that work?
Well, personally, we've never had, at least in PWO or anywhere else I've, either booked or owned.
Yeah, that's what I mean, booked, a championship book to lose.
We never really had much of an issue. Now, granted, there are some guys and women that don't like to lose because they feel the importance of being a champion. That being said, we've never had anybody refuse. We've never had anybody piss and moan about it or anything like that. It's kind of we had a champion in Fringe. He was about 1 month away from a year. And I think he wanted that one more month, but we just felt it was time to switch it. And I don't regret that decision. I think it was time at that time anyway. And yeah, he was not happy, but he still went out there, did the favor, and it was fine. It was, not a huge deal. They'll still, as long as they still go out there and do it, then that's fine. I mean, and again, I've never been in their position. I've never been a champion. So, but at the same time, I hear stories about Bret Hart not wanting to lose, obviously, even Shawn Michaels. A lot of them don't want to lose it because they know for one, it's big money. Being a champion is money. And it is money. You want that championship money. But
it's also a prop, too.
It is. I see both sides of that because, for example, Steve Austin will be making money regardless if he's a champion or not because he's always in the main event picture. Same thing in the past with The Rock, Triple H, whoever. We can name a dozen people off the top of our head, but most of them are just okay with making money. Steve Austin himself was just fine with being in the main event picture as long as he was making big money. Same with The Undertaker. The Undertaker, people don't think about it. He never had many overly long title reigns. He had maybe 2 that went past 3-4 months. You know what I mean? So, and he never complained. He never complained. He just wanted to make money, and he always did. And
Or like Roddy Piper, rest in
yeah,
peace. He never had a title, but he was always on the show, always in the main event kind of area, and made crazy amount of money, and never won the title.
Exactly. He never did. Jake the Snake Roberts, same thing. God, those guys made a shit ton of money. And I'll tell you this right now too. In the indie circuit, that's obviously different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They like being valued that way, and that's a good thing. It shows their passion too. The fact they're that dedicated to being a champion to any given promotion. To me, the fact that they're not happy they're going to lose it shows that how passionate they are about it too. At the same time, and I can't help but respect that.
Now, what would happen if someone just looked at you and said, okay, you can change the title, and then goes out and pummels the dude on 1, 2, 3?
Well, that's the thing. They would be not only blackballed from the promotion, but word would likely get around the other promotions in the area, and that person will likely not get booked again because they are proved to be unreliable.
That's bad business, yeah.
Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that's never, I don't think it's, at least in my time, it's never happened, at least in the indie scene, but yeah, I can't recall that ever happening. I wouldn't, that sounds like a story that would have happened in the old days, and stuff like that did happen, where, work turns into a shoot, and it just gets really nasty, but honestly, on the indie circuit, I don't think that they would risk their brand, because on the indie circuit, your brand is what sells you, and they know that their brand would be destroyed if that got out, and no other promotion would ever take a chance on them again.
Because it's more about merchandise at the end, where they're selling, because they can have a good match, and people won't know who they are. But if they put on a really great match and then they have merch afterwards, that's where the money comes from. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Merch is a big, big part of independent wrestling. Any of them will tell you that. Even today, at the show I was doing today, a lot of wrestlers had a great deal of merchandise. And again, when a show that has a red hot crowd that hasn't seen live wrestling in almost 2 years, they're ready to buy new shirts and new, they even had masks. Some of the wrestlers were selling masks with their logos on it.
Cool.
And obviously the usual stuff, 8x10s, t-shirts, you name it, they had it. And and they get creative with it too. That's what I like about independent wrestlers. They can get as creative as they want because they have that freedom that they would not have in the big leagues. And they design their own logos. They put their time and effort, spend their money getting these made, to hopefully make some money back from what they do, because that way they can produce more and continue to make more money and finally start turning a profit with this merchandise. And again, I mentioned Ethan Page. Ethan Page is one of the best at merchandising on the independent scene I've ever seen in my life.
So, pop-up question: would you join the NWO if you had a chance back in the day?
Yeah, they were the shit. You know what I mean? Nobody was cooler in 1996 and 97.
But they started the whole and I still love it now today. Just those 3 people that are like the what's that, anti-villain or the
Anti-stash.
Anti-hero. Yeah, anti-establishment, but it's like that anti-hero. They're not bad, but
yeah, I think to me that's the greatest. I get it, the 4 Horsemen started it, but the greatest faction is the NWO. I mean,
yeah,
everybody still talks about it 20 years later. And you still see shirts everywhere. Yeah.
It's an age-old debate because, again, I've watched old tapes all the time. I watch old footage of wrestling, and I know full well about the Horsemen and their reputation. I think if I was older in that era, maybe I might think differently. But at the same time, though, being 38 years old, being 13 when the NWO formed, I'm hard-pressed to disagree. They were it. They took wrestling and its coolness to a whole other level back when they formed. Hulk Hogan going heel was almost unthinkable. Hull and Nash, they didn't change much, really, from their WWF personas. But that's what made it so good, because they still had that cool factor that they were known for. And that's why Kevin Nash was so smart turning heel. I know obviously it was Vince's decision, but still, it was smart that he turned heel for him towards the end of his WWF run, because he was the cool Diesel again, not the white meat babyface they've been trying to push down our throats for a year. He was the cool Diesel again. He got to leave as the cool Diesel. Razor never changed. they got to leave as those characters and still maintain that coolness, it factor when they walked out. When Hall walked out on Nitro, it was like, what? Like I just saw him on a pay-per-view a few weeks ago. What the hell? And Kevin Nash, he was just fighting for the title not long ago. I'm like, and these guys, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker too. I thought they were moles from the WWF. I really did.
Yeah.
It's like Bischoff said. Okay, I know all that other stuff isn't real, but that is. Yeah, it's true. A lot of fans felt that way.
And it's like the switch, and it's like turns the thing. Do you know? I still think that's the only reason I think AEW is really doing well, is because I will say that nostalgic, just like I saw your energy kind of when it's like look when Steve Nash came on there, or look when he turned heel, and like the AEW's kind of more doing that. Like they have that shock with you of bringing on these other, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this different. It's the characters and it's the performers, but now in a different way. And that's why I think people love the WCWs, because you've been watching for the past 7 years or whatever. I know me was, and then it was all WWE. That's it. So then you had a whole new brand of. It's like you had Coke all your life, and here came Pepsi.
It's like a breath of fresh air. Well, we do gotta wrap up here in a couple minutes. Josh, Mike, do you guys have any other final questions for Bill?
Yes.
Before we wrap up,
I have a couple, but
sure,
I can talk with Bill all day.
Shoot him off. I'm ready.
So in Ontario Pro, would you ever see a match that just two guys go out, not a shoot match, just a wrestling match without no predetermined booking?
So something similar to a shoot fight that could just have like an improvised finish kind of deal. Like
no improvise, just two men go out, one man come back.
Well, one has to be predetermined. I feel like it has to, and then the rest of it could just be all made. I feel like
no predetermined, just two people on skill. Can that happen in pro wrestling?
It would be really hard. If that being said, if in that scenario, I'm sure there's a couple of guys, that would if that scenario were feasible, that could probably pull that off, but it would be super, super hard. It would take probably months, maybe years of planning out.
Yeah.
May I ask why?
I guess it's just because of the way wrestling is put together. It would just be really difficult from what they're used to. I'm sure there's ambitious talent out there that would be like, oh yeah, let's try this, but it might not go off very well.
I could see having like a shoot match and then having a predetermined and just let them, do the song and dance in the ring, and then they already know who's gonna win. But like, I can't see just like an MMA match. It'd be like an MMA match or a boxing match. You don't know who's gonna win. I don't think that works in wrestling.
I really don't. I mean, you can't, because it's kind of the thing. I mean, really, it's like you are watching like a soap opera, and it's like, well, you can't go to the next one if you don't. Well, we don't have any ending here, so it's just like it's a story. I mean, more or less, it's like a jumped out chapter. But,
well, let's get. Do we have any final questions?
Yeah. Do you have any other ones, Mike? Yeah.
Nope.
Final one.
All right.
You want to put your plugs in there again, there, Bill?
Absolutely. Follow us on social media, Pro Wrestling Ontario. We're on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook. For me personally, I'm at Bill Chase 33 on both Twitter and Instagram. You can also add me on Facebook as Bill Chase. I don't mind adding fans, just chatting wrestling with or whatever. So by all means, go right ahead. And thank you guys for having me.
And check out his karaoke stuff. It's fucking hilarious.
Thanks, Mike.
That was wonderful. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And remember, catch us next Sunday again at 9:30 Central.